Welcome to Industrial Sage, a free weekly video podcast series all about digital marketing for industrial manufacturers. Hear interviews with your peers and find out how they're solving the same challenges that you might be facing in your own field. Coming to you from the Optimum Production Studio in Atlanta, Georgia, this is Industrial Sage.
All right, so for today's episode, we're going to go over some quick tips on tracking your campaign. So look, the big reason why you want to move to digital marketing is because you can actually measure it and you can track it, and it's really exciting. Now, word of caution, when you go and you move into something like this, there is no lack of opportunities or lack of platforms or lack of tools that you can use. And while it can make your life easier in certain aspects, one of the areas that can get really tricky and difficult is actually tracking it and actually measuring it and pulling all these data sources together to really get a sense of what the heck is going on. So here's a couple things that if you have not done, you should probably look to start doing. That'll really help you to be able to do that. And the first thing is, listen, it's very easy, it's very simple. This is like digital marketing 101. Google Analytics. If you don't have that integrated under your website, do that now. Do that today. It is very easy. It is free, and you can do that. What that's going to do is it's going to unlock and show you who is visiting on your website. If I had $1 for every time that I heard from a manufacturing industrial company saying, oh, well, nobody comes to our website and nobody buys through that or researches us or whatever, and then I asked them, okay, well, do you have Google Analytics? Are you looking at that? And they said, well, no. How do you know? And I can tell you firsthand many times that claim is very, very false. And when you actually implement those solutions, you look into it, you start realizing, oh man, we actually have a decent amount of traffic coming to us, and we're having all these people coming from these different sources that we had no idea about. And wow, there's a lot of information here. So go ahead and do that. And just take some time to get to know it and look at, even just looking at your website, visitors, looking at bounce rates, where people are coming from referral traffic, things like that. That's really going to help to really to make sure some of your campaigns are going to be really effective. At least create a baseline, if nothing else, just a baseline of traffic. So do that. The next thing you're going to want to do is any type of campaign that you're going to have, obviously you want to make sure you have some sort of trackable call to action. Now, there's a lot of different types of content, a lot of different campaigns you can do. And so just make sure that you can actually track those calls to action. So video, for example, let's say you have a form that you can fill out. Well, that's trackable. You can go back and say, hey, look, we generated X amount of leads or interest or people by going through this form inside this video. Or maybe even just like a contact us kind of form submission, making sure that that is trackable and you can go and find out where those people came from, because that's kind of important, because you want to know if you've got 4 different campaigns running, which campaign's the most effective if you're spending money on them, and that will help to kind of ensure to work backwards to be able to get an idea of where you're getting the most bang for your buck, and then that way you can say, hey, look, two of the 4 are working really well, the other 2 are not. Well, we're going to get rid of the 2 that are underperforming, and we're going to put more resources to the 2 that are. So. There's a bunch of other things that you could do with that, even downloads for white papers, for example. So just making sure that is trackable. So one thing not to do, and I've seen a lot of people do this, is say, hey, download our ebook on whatever, and then you just click a button and boom, it downloads, and you don't put your information in there. That's a lost opportunity. You have no idea who that person is, and you want to find out who that person is. So do yourself a favor. You spent a lot of time on that ebook or that white paper or whatever that is, or that report, make sure that you have it gated where you are capturing, at a minimum, somebody's email address. At a minimum, okay. Next thing is email merge tags. So most people, you're using email in some form or fashion, whether you're sending 1 email a year or you're doing it multiple times a day. You want to make sure that you've got some sort of merge tags and data in there. Now, what is a merge tag? Well, essentially, it's a really easy way of being able to personalize your content. So, for example, you're sending an email to 5,000 people, and you want to say, hey, Danny, we want to send you this, we're telling you about this new product that we have. Well, by putting in a little tag inside the email that pulls my name from the database, it personalizes it. But then the other thing is that'll really help to be able to show the analytics in terms of who is opening and who is watching, and you can get a really good, a better sense of what's going on there. So a couple things you're going to want to pay attention to relative to email and merge tags, looking at your email open rates. So I can tell you if you have less than 20%, 15 or 20%, you might want to look at that. You might have some dirty data. A big thing you want to look at is click-through rates. That's a really good measurable thing you want to look at. A click-through rate, essentially, is when you send an email to somebody, a whole bunch of people. You send it to 100 people. And let's say the open rate, which is, let's say 20% of them open. So 20 people actually open the email. And then of those 20 people, let's say 5 of them actually click on whatever you have. Let's say there's a video and it's driving you to your website or a landing page, or it's a white paper, but they're taking an action that you have put inside that email. That's called the click-through rate. Looking at that is a sense of engagement. Looking at that is getting an understanding of how your content is performing, and it's a really important tool or a really important measurement tool you need to be looking at to get an idea of how effective your campaigns are. UTM codes is another thing that you can look to implement. Just Google it, UTM. We'll put a little link where you can learn more a little bit about it. But essentially what those are is it allows you to be able to put in a specific tracking code that'll give you an idea of where people are coming from on your website from, again, going back to that example where you have maybe 4 campaigns going. Let's say you have an email campaign for a trade show and you put this little UTM code. You can literally custom build it to say, okay, this is an email campaign for the package world or automation world trade show that we're going, so that when these people come to your website and you're looking at the Google Analytics or other place, you'll be able to see that traffic is coming from that email campaign. And again, that's going to be that'll really help you say, hey, this is good. This email, when we look at our open rates, look at click-through rates, and we can see that this campaign's really performing really well. Some of the challenges are, let's say you have a landing page for a download and you have, again, 3 or 4 different sources. Let's say maybe you have a PPC campaign going, you have an email campaign, you have an ad somewhere on a trade magazine, and all 3 of those are driving back to that landing page. By using UTM codes, it's a really good way to be able to segment that data and have an understanding of who's coming from where. So. And then the last area is really looking at programs like, marketing automation platforms like HubSpot or Pardot or Marketo or something like that. These systems are very sophisticated and they can help you kind of generate the kind of reporting that you might be looking for to be able to get an understanding of all these different campaign sources, all these landing pages, and really being able to figure out what is what. If you aren't using something like that, I will warn you, if you're not ready for something like that, don't use them yet. Use the Google Analytics, or there's other tools. Like one of our favorite tools we like using is Clickfolio, which essentially will allow you to pull in all these different data sources together, kind of mishmash them together, and you can kind of see what's what. And you can take data from all these different sources and figure out information that you otherwise couldn't if you were just looking at them individually, if that makes sense. So Clickfolio is a good example of one. Click's another one that we use. And so anyways, the importance of it is making sure that when you are doing a digital marketing campaign, that you are making sure that you are making it measurable, making sure that links are trackable, so that when you go back, hopefully, that you're doing this, you're going back and you're analyzing it, you're looking at it and seeing what is working, what isn't, and then you take it a step further and be able to communicate those successes, those wins that you had to upper management and to the powers that be to be able to say, hey, look, this is really working. We have seen an uptick in website traffic by 20%. We've seen an uptick in form fills for new product information, things like that. That's really relevant and powerful information. And you may not necessarily be able to connect, hey, we did this campaign activity and here's the dollars that we got out of it. But even just going and looking at these metrics will really be able to help to build that case and to be able to continue to build on that foundation of digital marketing. So I hope you found this episode helpful, and if you have any questions, we'd love to answer them. IndustrialSage trackable.com/questions. If you're listening on iTunes, we'd love a review. You can, if you're not listening on iTunes, you can listen to it on iTunes. You can do that. We'd love for you to like, share, comment, any questions or anything. Share us with your friends. And I'm Danny Gonzalez, and thanks again for watching this episode of Industrial Sage.